Good evening out there. I am One Free Fitz and joined by Lord Batsy, and we are here to showcase some Jets of Time, the Chrono Trigger randomizer. So, Batsy, what are we in for? What are we going to watch this evening?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. This is Jets of Time, which is an open world Chrono Trigger randomizer. We are going to see our two players here collect characters and key items to unlock one of the three Go modes, which will go through either Magus's castle, the dinosaur castle, or the Black Omen, and defeat a final boss. They'll be collecting a lot of equipment and other stuff on the way too. And then this is for the Gato Cup, which is a new player tournament and event that One Free Fits here has set up. And so these are both new players. We're really excited to see them run.
Yeah, definitely. And so, yeah, the Gato Cup is just like a mini new player tournament where new players are paired with a mentor, and the mentor. In this case, we have two of our new runners, the Schwantz, 27, and Drinks Glue. They have two mentors in their Epoch cockpits to give them information, support, encouragement, and just kind of help them throughout the seed. And in the Gato Cup, you will get that mentoring all the way through the group phases and into the finals. So it's mentored the whole way. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and kick off our runners here, and let's get this showcase showing.
Let's go.
So what does the beginning of a Jets of Time seed look like? What might we expect coming up?
Sure. So when you begin a typical Jets of Time seed, you're going to start with two characters. And if it helps you to think of it that way, those two characters, while they are randomized, is basically Chronos Spot and Lucas Spot. Knowing that can help you remember which other pickup spots to check. So it looks like our characters are Frog and Magus, which we like to call the Buddy Cop team.
Mm-hmm.
And these players are going to start with their Epoch with wings. So while they have the Epoch and access to the entire world map, they will only begin with access to two of the time periods. We're going to have 1000 AD, the present, which we see here, and they'll also be able to go to 600 AD. And generally, when people begin a seed, they're going to go around the world and maybe do some shopping. A lot of characters, sorry, no, a lot of players like to level their characters up a little bit before they hit any serious battles, learn a couple of techs, see what they're working with, see the players jumping into the Pori shop here. Oh, shelters, revives, ethers, and mid tonics.
Mm-hmm.
That's like 4 out of the 5 things you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, what's missing? Heals. Heals. That's the last thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna see the players go around, and everybody has their own like opening, which
Mm-hmm.
is kind of fun to watch. So they'll be collecting some groceries. We will probably see them, for example, popping into Xenon Bridge. You need to talk to the Knight Captain to activate the Xenon Bridge quest, which is one of the checks you can do. And if you talk to him now, you can pretty much go do it anytime you want. So a lot of people like to loop that into their intro.
Indeed, and there are quite a few of these power tabs which will roll between for power 2 to 4. For the magic ones, they're 2 to 3. I was generous with that because I wanted, there to be a lot of power. That's going to be a theme in the new player
Mm-hmm.
flag set. I also boosted the item difficulty to easier, so I would expect our new players to kind of find more power fast, earlier on in a
Yeah,
seed,
the treasure's going to be better than normal.
and so maybe not have to worry so much about like, do I have enough gear to get through what's in front of me, and more just be able to focus on kind of just doing those checks and going from there. Another thing is magic, and I think our race flag set is normally locked for the characters that learn magic. So it's going to be Frog, Chrono, Luca, and Marl. But in the new player flag said that's unlocked from the get-go, so we won't have to seek out access to the end of time.
Yes, in a general seed, those 4 characters will only learn 3 techs before they visit Specchio and unlock magic, which is still more generous than vanilla, where they'll only get 2. And we actually saw the Schwantz do one of the early checks, because with the winged epic, you can go over to the east side of the map that normally you wouldn't see until Endgame, and the Lazy Carpenter has a key item on him. In this case, that was the Hero Medal. Drinks Glue is probably about to find it too. And the Hero Medal is basically just another check because it opens up a chest in Frog's Burrow, but there's some good things about that. Like, for example, Frog is in the party, so the Hero Medal does lots of nice things for Frog, more than in vanilla. And there will be a character you can pick up in Frog's Burrow. It's kind of a pain because you need to fix the Masamune to get him, but there are characters that can lock checks, so knowing who's down here, even if you're unlikely to pick them up, is very valuable.
New. Ooh.
New.
Fighting the new. No, maybe not on purpose. Just paying respect.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's a blessing. That's a sign of this is a truly blessed seed.
It's true. Drinks Glue picking up that speed tab behind Toma's grave. Ooh, Luca in the burrow. Nobody likes to see that because Luca does a lot of damage and we love her for it. So,
interesting.
The item is the pendant.
Yeah, so the pendant gives us, if we complete the trial in 1000 AD, that gives us access to the future, and there are several checks available there.
Indeed. Generally, at the beginning of a seed, you're going to be looking for either the pendant or the gate key, because those are the 2 items that are going to give you some access to other time periods quickly. With a pendant will take you to future, gate key will take you to prehistory, and then via either of those you can unlock end of time, and via end of time you can open up antiquity 12,000 BC.
Yeah, we're seeing a couple of fights here because we want to start unlocking some of our texts. Those are going to be pretty much always more powerful than the fight command in a lot of cases. Magus will take a lot more to get their first one. It kind of balances the fact that they come with their starting equipment is pretty powerful relative to everyone else. But Frog will have a couple that we can unlock either by doing these 2 forest fights or, as Drinks Glue is showing, because we have Magus, we don't have to worry about the chaos counter from the birds, and we can do this one fight and also unlock.
Yeah, at least not as much. But both of these scenarios, whether you do the forest or the mountains, these are kind of the 2 setups that players prefer. Each of them will give you enough tech points that you will do tech doubling on anybody but Magus, because he's the one who requires 50 TP for his first tech, but I think everyone else needs like 10. So you will end up with 2 of the techs on each character, except for Magus, which is a great way to start, especially since, we're looking for some power, we're looking for some screen clears. We're going to see what techs they picked up in a minute here. Drinks Glue has also gone into the desert.
I think they're looking for loot.
Yeah. Yeah, so Sunken Desert in Jets of Time is open from the beginning of the game. You don't have to unlock it. You do need Robo in your party to complete it and pick up the key item, but there is some pretty decent treasure down here. You can see Drinks Glue going along the wall up there, because that's where the boss is. It doesn't move around in here. So you can get that chest if you're really slippery.
Seen a couple magic tabs. I've seen like 2 star size and like a lot of dark helms, but like magic tabs are great. Those are +2.
Yeah, very helpful. And the Schwantz has entered the cathedral. The front of the cathedral is generally the first like really big thing that anyone will do, because you're gonna get a third party member right after you finish this Nagaet fight. So we'll see who that is in a minute. We just know it's not Luca.
Interesting.
It's Marl.
Yeah, so there are a couple of characters that I guess we need to have access to some of the checks in the game. Marl is definitely one of them. We need Frog for one of our go modes. And then, as we mentioned with the Desert Robos, it's like the third that we need to have in order to complete a check.
Yes, correct. And there are some checks that in vanilla might require a specific character that don't here. For example, since we've removed a lot of the cutscenes, you don't need Luca to complete Desert because you're not going to go do that whole business with her mother. You also don't need Robo to finish Genodome. You can walk into there with anyone you want. Drinks Glue equipping some of the stuff that they found, which it's not bad, it's not great, but it's a lot better than the starting gear. The Schwantz is going to come in. There's a power tab in this room, and even when power tabs roll their randomizer minimum of +2, I think they're still quite worth it. And then we're going to come in here and pick up the Nagaet bromide, which is again buffed in the randomizer because it will give you one of every kind of tab. And instead of just a magic tab. And really, any speed tab is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, speed is very important, especially when going fast. Like, I think it's noticeable playing this even just a couple of times, like having a higher speed party member in the starting party, like a Magus, versus if we swapped out Magus for Robo, for instance, or that Luca. We would have kind of a speed problem later on in the game without using those tabs to catch up, and being behind on speed usually means the enemies get to take all their turns before we get to like do a thing. And that can be both dangerous and take up a lot of time.
Yep, indeed. And the Schwanzes run into this battle, but it looks like they are exiting the cathedral. Some players, after they collect the bromide, will just dip out. What's in the back of the cathedral is there's a boss, which is Yakra's spot. And once you beat that boss, you will gain another character inside of Guardia Castle. And this is not like the buffest starting party. It looks like Magus has Ice 2 coming, but Magus's Ice 2 is a lot weaker than, say, Marl's Ice 2. And Marl is just getting Ice 1, which is not the best thing to see. But luckily, the magical characters do have magic unlocked. So if Frog and Marl have poor opening techs, that's not going to be the deal breaker it might be in a standard seed.
Yeah. I mean, water plus ice is ice water. That's not a bad early sort of screen.
It'll wipe the screen, yeah.
And then those +2 magic tabs can make anyone into a pretty strong caster. So like it feels like it's enough to get going. Like it's not power overwhelming, but
yeah, this is probably not anyone's dream team, and it's not really because of the individual characters so much as you're looking for combinations of characters that give you really good things, really good damage, maybe really good healing. So, this isn't a team that has, Super Volt or Antipode spells, but there are things you can do, and if Magus gets Dark Matter, that's going to be something.
Indeed.
Looks like Drinks Glue. Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say a lot of healing, too, in the current squad.
Yeah, for sure. Dreams Glue is completing the back of Cathedral, so we will see which character we get out of Guardia Castle in a few minutes. And the Schwanz is doing Hecarim Cave. As mentioned, we do have Ice Water as a screen clear, and a screen clear is kind of the main thing you need to do Hecarim Cave pretty quickly. And the enemies in Hecarim Cave have a lot of tech points. So if you want to learn a bunch of spells very quickly, this is a great place to come.
Yeah, definitely. I would say like the desert, we could get more experience, but it's a little bit more dangerous. Ice water would make it pretty fast, but like we don't have Robo, we can't really make progress. So I think this is always a good alternative to the desert in terms of an opening move.
For sure. I'm definitely a big fan of early Hecarim Cave. Some people like to wait, especially in standard Cs where you are going to have to unlock magic. Any character that's capped on magic won't earn tech points. So if you come here with magical characters in a normal C, probably somebody's going to cap out. And there's also a sealed chest in here, which you can open once you have taken the pendant to the future. Normally you charge it on Man Machine, but as far as Jets of Time goes, that is very, very endgame. So the pendant now charges when you go to the future. So I can understand that, but I personally love Hecarim as an early play. There's not a whole lot that can go wrong for you, I think. Which isn't to say there's nothing, but...
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are approaching seeing our first bosses. We should probably mention, and I went back and forth on this quite a bit, and kind of putting together a very nice on Schwanz, skipping the bats.
Very good, yeah.
Whether or not to do the boss shuffle or not. And I kind of ended up just like, a lot of the endgame bosses in their vanilla spots are very hard in the randomizer because we're coming in a lot lower level than the vanilla game, and so I was like, even though shuffling the bosses sometimes can put a wall up in the early game, like if we had a pretty physical party and
well, that looks like Terra Mutant. That's gonna be fun.
This is an example of one that would be real bad if we had, low magic techs. Which we don't have the most magic right now on Drinks Blue Screen. We have some.
But we have some. And the Terra Mutant, we could see that boss sight scope was on. That's another feature of these new player flags. It's Giga in Hecarim Cave.
I think
Mutants for days.
I rolled this scene, I can tell.
Yeah. But this will be a great show of how you get through these guys with magic. But yes, we've got the boss sight scope on. Typically we'll use a flag that is called spot-based HP, which means when the bosses are shuffled, typically their stats are just scaled by the level of the spot they're in. But with the spot HP, hit points are always just standard to that spot. Now some of the mutants do some funny math with it, but Yakra's HP value is 920. And because Terra Mutant's a two-part boss, I don't believe the top half has that entire 900. So while that's a nasty boss to see in the back of Cathedral, you don't need to do a whole lot to get through it, and you just need to get through it. That was great, The damage wasn't good, but that's how you do it.
Yeah, and these are not the most hardest hitting spots, so even though these bosses do fairly annoying stuff, I think both players will be able to get through here. And I think that's a little bit of why I went back and forth, because it is if there's vanilla bosses, then players know what they're gonna face. But I do feel I don't know, this is the one that the randomized bosses I think is more common in races or other time sort of settings.
I think it's better to have boss rando on. I think that you don't need to play without boss rando for very long before you've got it down. And this just feels more productive to me. I think it's going to be a better learning experience. There's a question in chat about how do you know where to go next? Well, it's true that this is a randomizer, so you often don't know where to go next, but there are a few things you can keep in mind. You're going to have a certain amount of checks open at the beginning of the game. Hecarim Cave is one of them. The back of the cathedral, where Drinksglue just picked up Chrono for his party, which is probably a slightly better choice than Magus for this setup. Honestly, no characters are terrible. There's just better combinations than others, I think. But the items, there's some logic that you can be sure of. You know that you can get either the pendant or the gate key from your opening checks, even if it's hidden behind something. For example, our pendant was behind the hero medal, but since the hero medal was also right out in the open, it's fine. Well, there's the gate key. You'll love to see it.
Okay. Well, now they have access to all times. And this is a wide seed, so there's going to be a lot of options.
And there are 3 go modes. Yeah. We talked a little bit about the go modes earlier, but I can go ahead and explain them now if you'd like in more detail. But to go to Tyranno Lair, you're going to need the gate key, the Dreamstone, and the Ruby Knife, and that's going to take you through Tyranno Lair and then through Ocean Palace. And you can also do Magus's Castle Go mode. That requires both broken pieces of the Masamune and Frog is your third. It's not a third item. Frog is the party member that's required. And then you can go through there. Magus's Castle is definitely the longest Go mode dungeon, but because of its requirements, you can often unlock it sooner than you would other Go modes. And I think that's kind of the trade-off. And then the final Go mode is Death Peak and Black Omen, where you'll collect the pendant, the clone, and the Chrono Trigger, and then you can climb Death Peak and go through Black Omen, where Queen Zeal will actually be the final boss. This is really just balancing to make it viable, because I think that if you had to fight the Lavos Gauntlet after Black Omen 2, there would be no way that Go mode would be viable, but we've taken that out. So once you finish the second Queen Zeal, you're done. And depending on the items you've got, depending on what's open, like Fitz said, this is a pretty open seed. We've run into the pendant and the gate key, and those open stuff. So yeah, where do you go next? It probably is kind of a big shrug, and I think that if you don't immediately know where to go next for the sake of your progression, the thing to do is to think of what else the check will get you. Hecarim Cave, for example, that's going to get you a bunch of tech points. A lot of players sometimes like to do Mount Woe once they have it open, because there's also a ton of tech points and a ton of treasure.
Indeed, but we have to have our speed correct. I wouldn't go there without.
It's true, plan. Yeah.
Yeah, but, that's definitely another way to route is like, what check will give me the most power coming out of it.
Yeah. And then I would say, this seed being very open, it is really hard to guess where stuff is. But some seeds, you'll get an opener that isn't super open. I mean, you could get... Everyone loves to see the Prism Shard, because that's the quest that you need Marl to complete. And it can be kind of a pain, although we've removed a lot of the cutscenes now, so you have to do a lot less running back and forth than you used to. So that's nice. And Prism Shard allows you to turn in the Moonstone, but the Moonstone also requires Pendant and Gate Key, and I mean, frickin' Specchio help you if something really important's on the Moonstone, but it happens.
It's true.
So yeah, but as you do more checks, every seed can be completed 100%. That is always guaranteed in the logic. So knowing that, as you complete checks, you can start to suss out where other items might be.
Like this one that Schwann's doing, for instance, if we save before, we can decide if we want to continue and complete the dungeon Schwanz is passing, but he knows now where one half of a go mode, the frog go mode lies. So if we find the other sword piece, then we just have to go do the bridge, and we're good to go.
Indeed. So yeah, Xenon Bridge is a check that a lot of players will peek because the cook gives you the item before you have to go fight the boss. You then have to survive the whole gauntlet on Xenon Bridge before you can do anything else, is the trade-off. It is one of the lower level checks, though, and can typically be done as long as there's nothing too nasty waiting for you at the end of it. But the good news is that Terra Mutant and Giga Mutant are off the list for anywhere anybody goes.
That's true.
Because they can't be harmed by physical attacks. You have to use magic, and it can get a bit dicey.
We're heading to the future. Or not the future. The past. And then the end of time, maybe. Yep.
Yes. Once you come through the cupboard via the gate key, you'll land in the Mystic Mountains, and if you loop back up, the gate will take you to end of time. And this will open up 12,000, actually. And were this not a beginner seed, you'd want to go visit Specchio immediately, because he would unlock the magic cap for Frog, Marl, and Chrono. And Luca if you had her, but we'll see. I mean, with Magus's Castle Go mode having 2-3 pieces up already, somebody might, if I got a quick Magus's Castle Go mode in this seed, I would totally go get her, but she's my girl, so of course I would. And, yeah, you do not need all of the items to finish the game. You just need to open a Go mode and complete it. So you don't have to finish anything 100%, although some seeds will make you get really close.
So in prehistory, we have a character we can get up at the top of this nest. There's some fights that we'll have to run away from or avoid. That's definitely a thing, both in Chrono Trigger and the randomizer here. Is that most of the encounters we can run from, and a lot of them with particular movement we can just avoid altogether.
Yes, indeed. This one at the beginning of Dactyl Nest does look like you should be able to avoid it, but you can't, unfortunately. The monkey will always catch you.
I know, it does feel like we can get away.
Yeah. You may as well just run into the rock right at first, because... And then this one up here, that's going to be the 2 flying dinos. Oh, we got a reset from Drinks Glue, which is understandable because Giga Mutant was throwing out status effects, which nobody likes ever, because, why?
Mm-hmm. And, yeah, and I think they were playing on Battle Speed 1, which can be tough against a boss that we're kind of equal power to.
Yeah. I guess we could talk about Battle Speed a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyone familiar with other RPG randos or just vanilla speedrunning might know that Battle Speed can affect many things. Unfortunately, unlike Final Fantasy VI, Battle Speed in this game is not just turned all the way down to play on easy mode. It affects the characters as well as the enemies, and a higher battle speed not only reduces the time it takes for ATB bars to fill up, both yours and theirs, it also means that the enemies have like a little bit of a delay programmed in when they take their turns, which I think is to sort of equalize them with the player, because we have to get our turn and then we have to click into the menu. It can be really quick, but it isn't always. And a higher battle speed means that their turns will go off a lot faster. I myself only play on 3, and it's pretty comfortable for me. but some people like to crank it up even higher.
I feel like
Right.
I hybrid between 2 or 3. Like, if I have speed problems, I find that, especially towards the end of the game, like 2 is just not enough margin of error for me to get into like a menu and run away. So it really depends on a lot. Now I kind of start on 2, and then depending on my speed, or at the very minimum, thinking about it heading into the final boss fights, because that's another one where like every turn matters, and so I'd rather be a little safer than trying to input furiously.
Right. This Schwantz finished Dactyl Nest and picked up Robo at the top of it. And so now we're coming into the Sunken Desert, because with Robo we can collect the key item at the end of this chest. Looks like we got Slash, but which one? Okay, it is normal Slash, which is the one you want to see less. Slash, as opposed to Super Slash, has an immunity to the water element and higher than average magic defense for every other element, whereas Super Slash has basically no defenses.
Yeah.
But this is probably still doable.
Yeah, I think the counters are going to be kind of hard, but we have re-raise and we have haste as well, so like...
And we've also got Black Hole, which is another thing that's different in Jets of Time. Vanilla Black Hole is known to, crash the game not infrequently. So actually, for a while, we were using a different original tech called Anti-Life, where I think Magus could kill himself to do damage to the enemy. It's not bad, and you can still enable it in our Legacy flags, so it's fun to play with sometimes. But this Black Hole is now an area of effect centered around Magus that does non-elemental magic damage, and non-elemental magic damage is generally not absorbed by anything, so that makes it quite valuable, and it has the Doom effect on it, which means it's the same effect that the Doom Sickle has, which increases its power if other party members are KO'd. So I think that if Slash does anything super nasty here, you might be able to get out of it with some Black Hole strats.
Yeah, I know. Meanwhile, Lagos fight for me has come down to him being the only one standing, and just let a Black Hole over and over again.
Indeed.
On the right side.
Drinkspoon has gotten through that mutant. Yeah.
So they're up a Chrono, but they're down a Robo.
See where they're going next. Possibly to check Zeden Bridge.
Okay, we're seeing the save. These two have done a bit of practicing, and they do have a mentor. So it's like...
Yes, each of them is...
of prep. It's hard to be like, hey, new runner, you want to be in the showcase? Like, don't practice, though. I want you to be the most new.
We approve of practicing, and both of these runners are in a voice chat with a mentor, and anyone who joins this tournament will get the same. We'll see if Drinkspoon decides to keep that or not. It's like, no.
Also passing. I can understand it only being half and not opening up more checks. The bridge has surprisingly good drops, and then especially with the easier item difficulty, I might just go for the stuff and not even worry about the sword necessarily.
There are players who do like to go for the stuff. The reason it has such good drops is that Ozzy counts as the same Ozzy on the bridge that he does in his boss fights later in the game. So as far as the game and randomizer are concerned, it uses the same loot table. Ozzy might not even drop anything in vanilla, which would explain it, but in rando, everything has a chance. So, I mean, Ozzy could have prism specs, you don't know, but it can be quite worth it.
there are a lot of like the loot tables. There's a lot of little nuances around like the bosses. There's enemy rarity for like rare enemies have a better chance of dropping like higher tier items, and then there's your like a couple of like very rare enemies like rubble. I think it's the most accessible one, but so just like little knowledge like that can be like a little bit of an edge, because sometimes like a piece of good gear early can really go a long way.
Yep. Drinks Glue is going to do Denadoro Mountains, which is another check that's open from the very beginning of the game. Actually, we saw them go in there to do their grind at the beginning to get the tech points. Denadoro Mountains isn't too bad a check. The boss does have 3,600 hit points, and that can be a little bit much for the beginning of the game, but it also can depend a lot on who appears there. Drinks Glue. That screen is full of traps, and that was executed beautifully. Let's see the key item over here as Robo causes a time paradox and tears the fabric of reality asunder.
Indeed. Ooh, a wallet. I remember a particular race where, I see them in chat too. Ooh. Someone went up Mount Woe and had a wallet on the whole time. I think it was intentional. Yeah, Drinks here showing off some knowledge of those, avoiding encounter triggers through specific movement. This was really the first place that I learned them all, because, we come here a decent amount.
Yeah, well, the mountains are nice. Of course we do. Nice. We've got Toma. Actually, in Jets of Time, Toma will ask that if you know where Giant's Claw is. I think most players probably do, but if you don't, you can tell him that you don't, and he'll show you in the cutscene where it is. Which is to say, it's in the Middle Ages, pretty much in the same location.
So that did open up another check, but we are going to head to get a rock.
Going? Ah, yes, the rock.
I see. I'll point this out because I know someone in the chat that's a fiend for it, but the hunting range is a thing in Jets of Time as well. It usually has pretty high tier items. It does require the time commitment to go into the hunting range and gather those materials, but sometimes you might find like prism specs in there, for instance, and those are pretty good.
Yeah. You can see on Drinks Glue screen, you can grab a rock here too. You can actually catch it from the bird on any screen, and it doesn't have to be frog. In vanilla, it's the gold rock, and it has to be frog. But in Jets, all the rocks are shuffled amongst themselves.
Yeah, they can be pretty good. And there is a flag that adds randomization to gear where they get like random effects or sometimes lose them. And rocks are considered very high tier items, and so they often will roll with really fun effects.
Yes, when you've got gear rando on rocks, could have, prism specs effect, or they could have shield and barrier. There's a lot of nice things. It's definitely worth checking if you have rando on, and even sometimes when you don't. I mean, it depends on the team, but we saw the Schwantz pick up the blue rock, I think, and we saw Drinks Glue pick up the black rock. And the only character missing from the teams for both of those is Luca. And while she is in the burrow behind the sword, we know that she's there, and we've got Frog, and we know where half the sword is. So it's not necessarily impossible that those could be on the table. We love seeing Dark Eternal and Omega Flare, and really just any triple tech. We love seeing them.
Yeah, the boss at the top of Denadoro can be kind of challenging, especially in terms of our opening dungeons. Because it's got over 3,000 hit points, and it can hit pretty hard, but the fact that it's spread out amongst these 4 robots here is going to make Drinks Glue be able to make pretty quick work of.
Yeah. Our series aren't too bad as long as you can take them out without incurring too many of their counterattacks, which I think you can in most situations. It's really only every now and then you'll get a seed where they're the last thing you want to see, but most of the time they're not too bad. And they do split the HP of the boss spot, so it's not too hard to take them out usually.
Let's see, what is here?
As you can see, the vanilla item would be the broken sword, but aha! There's that prism shard. Well, the good news about that prism shard is we know exactly where Marl is. Because, oh god, the worst thing is finding the prism shard and having no idea where she is. Oh, look, it's Dalton.
Ooh, spicy.
Ooh. So the Schwantz is gonna fight Dalton Plus over here in Nizbel's spot. Everybody hates Dalton. All my homies hate Dalton. He's one of the most unpleasant bosses to fight in the randomizer because this is Dalton Plus. This is his powered up version. He counterattacks literally everything, and he can hit you very hard, especially with physical damage. But there are some tricks you can do, and I think Black Hole is not a bad call here at all.
Yeah, I mean, we've got re-raise as well, so that can help deal with the powerful orbs that will start shooting out of him. The first
yeah. He's very fast too, and that's obnoxious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
nice thing is
worse as like the fight goes on.
Yeah, his AI programming is at least 100% predictable, but like when you know you're about to take 500 damage to the face, like it doesn't necessarily make it better. But you know, you do what you can. If you've got shields of the item, you can pop those. If you've got Luca and she's got protect, you can pop that. We actually have a duplicate characters flag. Obviously, that's a little bit advanced, and we're not using it here in this new player tournament. But under duplicate characters, we have some custom multi-techs. So, for example, 2 Lucas can do protect all, and most of the time that is not that useful. But it has saved my butt against like Dalton and Slash before, so you just gotta know when to use it.
Indeed. Okay, yeah, I was worried. Oh, but they got re-raise.
Yeah. And yes, Marl, that's another thing. Marl has re-raise instead of Cure 1. Yes. Because Cure 1 in the randomizer is pretty redundant. You know, in vanilla, getting it before Cure 2 makes sense. But in the rando, we may as well just, like, give Cure 2. And she now has a re-raise spell. And those strats are completely viable as well. If something is just going to keep killing you, just keep telling them no.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate, like, I would say, like, the light touch in terms of characters have been tweaked so that they kind of are all viable in a party. You know, some of their base speed was boosted, so it wasn't so far off from the normals. For instance, you know, some of those like techs that either had weird effects or were kind of redundant were swapped in, and so I think like vanilla knowledge is good for definitely a new player, just knowing where stuff is and like who has what techs, what the the double techs are. I mean, we have all around the fabulous wiki as well, so there are other ways to learn it, but like there's enough of the differences that you know it's just good to point out sometimes. Re-raise is big.
Yeah, re-raise is great. And it's true. Luca and Robo have had their starting speed of 6 raised to 8, and Marl's speed of 8 is raised to 9. We didn't raise her to 10 because I have forgotten exactly what numbers back this up, but the difference between speed 9 and speed 10 is really critical, which is why we didn't want to start there. Because that would be a little too much of an advantage for the character.
I think, it probably has to do with the opening dungeons and the average speed of enemies in there.
Yeah.
9 probably.
Yeah. Alright, so we got Marl is down on Schwantz's screen, so this black hole should do more than the 700 it's been doing. Yeah, there you go. Double, and Dalton is done. That was an excellent fight, honestly. I mean, not fun, but a lot of the times Dalton isn't fun, and you get through it how you can, so, great job, dude.
Yeah, definitely well managed, and I noticed Drinks Glue hit the monkey skips on this screen, which is very nice. So, again, I think encounter skips are definitely part of running this in a time setting, be it a race or even if you want to submit Jets of Time and play it in a charity marathon, usually you got to be able to hit some sort of consistent time. And so I think it's definitely a piece of the puzzle, but I think both players, and presumably their mentors are getting good information and making pretty good decisions, just based on what the seed has provided so far. Which is not again, we don't have Flare, we don't have Ayla.
Yeah, I mean, no Flare, no Ayla. I don't know if Magus has dark matter or anything yet.
Or a good Chrono sword, or a good punching fist.
Looks like Magus is getting dark matter next for the Schwantz at least, so that's not bad.
The ribbon, Robo Ribbon, which is good for Schwantz. If they want to use Robo, but
cool. Yes, Robo's ribbon in Jets of Time, it's an equipable accessory instead of just a permanent stat change. But again, it does do more than it does in vanilla. It gives Robo, I think Robo's the one that gets Sunshade's effect, and Frog's Hero Metal is the one that has Prism Spec's effect. And it also has Barrier on it, and maybe Shield. I haven't gotten it in a really long time. I'm sitting here I can't remember. But it does quite a bit, and it does include the speed boost and magic defense boost from vanilla as well. I believe it's 3 points of speed, 10 in magic defense.
Yeah, and that speed boost is very big for slow Robo. Yeah, we are starting to see.
Yeah.
I think unfortunately we can't avoid the trial and going.
Nobody's gone to the future. That's so it's do you go Prism Shard, do you go Pendant? Pendant's gonna have more checks behind it, at least immediately, but I mean,
I suppose
who knows?
Prism Shard had a sword piece, and there as well, of course. I forgot.
That's true. Mount Woe's open.
The speed is gonna be Magus is fast enough, but if they don't have a Dark Mist or Dark Matter yet, that's gonna be tough. Chrono's fast enough, but probably doesn't have a screen clear.
Yeah, probably Chrono's Lightning 2 would do it. The nice thing about Mount Woe is most of the enemy formations are actually pretty squishy. The beasts in the Beast Nest aren't. Those guys you gotta be a little more careful, but once you're on the mountain proper, I am pretty sure that even Laser Spin will wipe most of the encounters. So, once you're fast, but they are really fast, so once you're fast enough, it doesn't necessarily matter how powerful your screen clear is.
Yeah, because there are a couple fights on Mount Woe that I remember wiping too as a newer player. Couple of those the 4 gargoyles with the lightning orbs, they can pretty quickly just doink everyone down, and then it's oh. Where are we
Drinksglew was visiting Melchior at the fair. And that's another thing in Jets. While the shops are generally randomized, Melchior at Millennial Fair will always have a weapon for 5 of your 7 characters, like a mid-tier weapon, which it's not great, but you start with the lowest often, so it might be what you need. And he will always have shelters and revives. And so that's pretty great. And the 2 characters he doesn't have weapons for are Ayla, who doesn't need one, and Magus, whose starting weapon is already like a higher class than the other stuff Melchior sells. So we don't need to worry about him.
Well, we are going to see the trial. I'll be watching very closely to see if my ancestor is rescued.
That's right.
Does have Chrono, so is eligible for the reward, but...
Hashtag always save.
Save Fritz.
If you save Fritz and you have Chrono in your party, you can get those 10 mid-ethers. Which, depending on the seed, often you're gonna find MP recovery scattered around, but I don't think we've seen that much here yet, so it's just kind of... it can be better to grab the mid-ethers, and sometimes it's better to skip it, but I think part of knowing which to choose is reading the seed. Most of the time you will find decent MP recovery, but, it's terrible if you don't. So...
Yeah, all of our Go modes have, an in-game shop as part of them, and they usually will have some sort of higher tier, MP consumable. And I think we found plenty of early ethers too, but yeah, it's the other thing about that shop is it's one of the 2 that can carry lapises, which I think having AoE heals, we're probably not looking for them, but that's another good thing to know if we are running a party that didn't have a lot of healing going on.
Yeah.
Fritz and the Fiona shop are both stocked up.
Yeah, and they can be really valuable. If you've got Frog or Robo, then you're fairly likely to learn a spread heal, and that's pretty much all you need. But if you don't, then lapises can be really nice. Sometimes Aura Whirl has saved me for sure, but you don't want to use 2 people's turns for that if you can help it.
Yeah, definitely. I see we're not going to save Fritz. I'll have to have some words with Drinksglew after the race. I'm going to subtract points from their permanent record, but it's okay. I did a race ahead of time to save Fritz so I could preserve the timeline overall. We always joke, and it hasn't really... Usually someone says one free Fritz at least once.
It always happens,
and
yeah.
So I've just kind of adapted and joked that it's my ancestor. And therefore, if not enough people save him, then, I can see pictures of myself start to fade. It's looking okay right now. I'm pretty tangible in it, so...
Yep. And saving Fritz does have one other effect besides the mid-ethers, which is when you go to the future and you go into the sewers, that note that gives you advice on not making noise and alerting the monsters won't be there if you didn't save him. So one of Fritz's descendants left that note for us. Okay, our series down.
Let's see what's protecting the prison today.
Nisbel.
Nisbel tank.
Yes. This is one of the spots that we didn't have in Boss Rando for a long time, just because it's slightly more technically difficult to move around multi-part bosses than single-part bosses. But Dragon Tank is now part of Rando, and we get a randomized boss up here too.
Yeah, it is a normal 3-part spot, which when combined into one, I don't think it'll be a problem at this point, but if we came here right away when we found that pendant, this would be a little bit of a tricky one to get through. It might take a while at the very least.
Yeah, no, this spot is definitely beefy enough that even if you have Piment straight up, I don't know that going right away is the call. Want to be like a level 10 at least, maybe, I don't know.
I guess 2,500. That's less than I thought.
Schwann's trading that Naga bromide for one of each tab. Which again, my argument is that like even if you don't think the power tab's worth it, even if you don't think the magic tab is worth it, that speed tab would be worth it by itself. Especially if you like running, you know, Luca, Marl, Robo. Maybe not all three at the same time, because that's Team Slowpoke and that comes with its own challenges. But you know, if you have enough speed tabs to like buff one of them, often that's enough.
Yeah, and the speed is one of those that kind of sneaks up on you as we start to get to the end game. Like, it won't matter as much until it does, and then it matters, like, a lot. Or it's like, oh, I'm just getting, like, hit in the face all the time for, like, a bunch of damage and have to, like, heal in between every fight.
And you know, even if they're not hitting you that hard, you don't want to be sitting through all those animations. Usually, you want to move. Ooh, there's an extra speed tab. They're in the back of, I think that's Bangor Dome. Yeah, and then we're going to come into Trandome. So as we mentioned earlier, the pendant charges when you arrive in the future. So Drinks Glue can open up all of these doors and chests now. Load first. Magic 2. Okay, not bad.
Yeah, it's very interesting because in terms of like a go mode, we haven't really found a lot of pieces of it other than the access to the times.
Yeah, we've got the access pieces, and we've seen 2 out of 3 of the Magus Castle go mode, but that other sword piece is still nowhere to be found. So who knows?
Yeah, and so in the future, there is access to a character who, at this point, we know is Ayla, just through like process. Like
yes.
We, as seeing all the information from both runners, know that it's Ayla. And then there is this check down here to go down, do some rat shenanigans, and then fight the Guardian spot. There is the Sun Palace, which is pretty much just run in and fight in.
Yep.
Which is always fun to save and just peek at, do a vibe check of, you know, maybe it's Golem Boss. And
it's true.
There is also the Geno Dome, which is a longer in-game dungeon. Will come out of there with pretty much in-game like gear and levels, and not have to worry so much about that.
And there's a speed tab in there too. Ooh, all right. Here's a flea.
Flea regular.
We like flea almost as much as we like Dalton.
Yeah, they do a lot of statuses, and then those counters in the back half. There's a lot of ways to mitigate them. Re-raise with one.
Yep.
Just leaving a party member down is often the best plan there as well.
Yeah. Flea's got once at 50% HP, there's a 50% chance to do a really nasty counterattack that hits your entire party. But as mentioned, if one of your party members is down, Flea can't do it. You know, the other interesting thing about Flea is that while Flea fights can be terrible, the chances for the stare to go off are still only 50%. And I have absolutely just gone in with my fingers crossed and, like, come out to tell the tale. So that's another one where it's like, you know, you might not feel great about it, but just go for it. Like, I don't think Drinks Glue took any stares.
No.
Right there. That went just as easily as that fight can go badly. It can be very uneventful.
Yeah, I think it's like, this is a pretty short check to get into as well. Versus, like, I think we hate to see that, where we've already committed a bunch of time in a long dungeon and then have to deal with them. Like at the top of Denadoro, for instance. Which is like, that can
be really nasty. Yeah, Aris Dome isn't too bad. This is definitely, once you get to Future, Aris Dome is the check that you're almost certainly going to be able to do. Geno Dome is a marathon and things hit hard, and the Sun Palace spot is probably the most powerful non-go mode boss spot in the game. 6,500 HP, I think, and a lot of other rather inflated stats.
Yeah, we're in for a fight when we go there. And this one also offers the sealed door, which because it's like gated behind a boss is a little bit higher tier than the regular sealed doors.
Yes, in addition to those sealed doors that were in the first two domes, there's this one back here in the Aris Dome basement, and this one's got, I think, a power tab in it and 4 treasure chests.
Nice.
Mega Elixir, Hyper Ether,
Nice.
Speed Tab.
Wow.
Oh, you love to see it. Wow.
I think we've found enough speed tabs that I don't know if speed's going to be a big old problem.
I know you were apologizing for rolling the seed with those mutants, but there have been like at least 4 extra speed tabs. Yeah. I think that like we can forgive you for the mutants.
Yeah, we'll see.
Especially Marl around.
There's still all the hard boss spots left, so like I talked about. For me, it's really that twin spot in Ocean Palace. Like double golems there is. Like, the vanilla boss is so...
Once just found another speed tab, too.
So hard. No, I'm pretty sure we went 0 for 2 on the Fritz saving.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a Stern talking to the Gato Cup class, I think, overall, around...
Yeah.
Around why we do it, which is not to save time, but to save timelines.
But it's... Yeah, because it's the right thing to do. If you get me as your mentor, I will probably be really annoying about saving
the cat
Fritz.
Tracker.
Oh yeah, nobody's pet the cat.
Shockingly low right now.
We joke that going into Chrono's house and petting the cat is how you validate your run. So we've even got a little kitty on the tracker. Even our auto tracker, you pet the kitty and the kitty will light up. It's great.
And there is a free healer Chronos, and so it's oftentimes early if I'm buying the jerky spot item early. I don't have a lot of shelters on hand, and so I will often just stop there at like the backside of Heckran Cave. And
I hate having to shop again when I don't have to, and that's kind of a me thing more than I think a major player thing, but. So, like, I almost always will do Heckran Cave early, and then I will almost always just pop into Chrono's house for the free heal. Since there's only 1 bed instead of 3 at the inn, you don't get a cutscene with, everyone climbing out of the bed, because at Chrono's house, that would probably be awkward, like, both from a programming perspective and from a cramming everybody into that little twin bed perspective. So, it's a quick one. Staying at an inn can actually eat a lot of time. But Chrono's house is fairly quick.
Yeah, this is a tough boss. It's a good move that our displays are weak to statuses, and so getting one kind of taken out of healing can make this go a lot faster. My personal favorite is when Mother Brain does this, because a lot of times our Chaos party member will attack the remaining screen.
And they will
ruin everything.
Yeah, then it's a real party.
Fortunately, it didn't happen this time, but I've had that happen so many times. This is a fast boss to get into, so like it'd be a quick refight, but that's the main thing to watch out for is an errant screen hit.
Yeah, looks like Schwantz also got through Flea without counterattacks, so, well, there's your proof. Sometimes it just doesn't happen.
I guess.
It's not fun to try to count on, but it can happen.
Oh, I missed. What was the Aerostone? We're gonna see it again, but was our key item from here?
Oh, yeah, gosh, I was looking and then completely blanked. But yeah, we'll see it again in a second. Maybe chat knows.
Yeah, because the main thing with Mother Brain is when her displays go down, she does terrible, horrible things.
Yep. She goes completely berserk, and unless you're just about done with her, she will probably kill you first. She gets very, very powerful if you kill all of the displays.
Yeah,
you know, you can do it, but yeah.
Playing.
Okay, Grand Leon, which, you know, is unfortunately not progress, but at least there's Frog and at least there's a hero medal, so I don't think anyone's gonna be, like, mad about that.
Yeah, we got a Frog sword.
Yeah, Frog is definitely a character who, in this rando, is very, very dependent on
it was the moon
how he rolled. Ooh. We've got all the requirements for the Moonstone, so we'll see. I kind of hope we see it turned in. You can see Drink's glue is putting the Moonstone down and picking it up. The Moonstone has been divorced from the jerky process in this game. Jerky is also a key item. It doesn't give you any progress, but you can give it to the Mayor of Pori, who gives you a high-tier item. High-tiered item does not necessarily guarantee that it's also good, but there's a fairly good chance.
So yes,
all right.
The Schwann's getting their Moonstone, and I'm sure, if not the racers, the mentors are cursing me. They're like, Fizz, what have you done? But at least they have all the tools to get the double check. Like, they know where the Marl is.
Yep,
a true fit seed would have been, where's Marl? We don't know. We might have to go up Dactyl. We might have to... Here's a question. If, like, Schwann's knows Ayla is in the spot, is that like a must grab for us at this point? Or is it worth not looking and saving the time?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, gosh, for the Schwants, it's hard to say. Given no Chrono, I think Ayla would be slightly better with the characters that are picked up. Just because Robo's got Uzi Punch, but, you know, that doesn't lead to, like, a Fire Punch or something. Maybe if Robo gets Robo Tackle, you could do Ice Tackle with Marl, which is pretty good. But I think that Ayla would have, you know, when she's paired with Frog, she can do Drop Kick, and Drop Kick is just obscene. Yeah. When she's paired with Marl, you can do the, like, Cube Toss, Ice 2 and Beast Toss one, yeah, which is also quite nice. Ayla and Chrono, even Falcon Hit is really more of a screen wipe in this than anything. It's not going to do a crap ton of damage, but it will wipe some things that are otherwise hard to wipe, including the annoying scout fight in the Ocean Palace. So, I mean, I feel like Ayla's a good pickup, but I can also see why, you know, you just want to be comfortable with your party and keep going.
Yeah, and I was definitely also thinking that just essentially, like, neither runner knows that definitely Ayla is there because Drinks hasn't gone up Dactyl, and Schwann's hasn't gone back to the back of the cathedral, so for them that's like a, you know, it's one of these two.
Yeah. So they're both doing the Prism Shard drop off. Got Son of Sun in the courtroom. Drop off the Prism Shard, yeah.
I would argue that it's Firewhirl unless something can't be damaged
Yeah,
by
I
fire.
mean,
But
yeah, I think it depends on the situation, and it depends on like your tab situation, like. But I guess I would say we definitely have a short list. Like I would say drop kick, blaze kick, the good fire whirl. Luca Ayla, not Luca Chrono. Antipode 3, even Antipode 2. Like thinking what else? Fire tackle is really nice. Ice sword 2, fire sword 2. That's kind of like my short list off the top of my head.
There's a lot of pairings that have, at least one really good one. Son of Sun, so we will notice that there's less flames. That's one change.
Yes, this is the puzzle boss. This is the one that belongs in Sun Palace.
And until it does its initial shuffle, none of the spots are hittable. But it's pretty much just a guessing game, and no matter where it is, it'll always be the same number of correct hits to defeat it.
Yeah, it shuffles its little flares, and one of them, when you hit it, will harm the boss. The rest of them, and the boss itself, will just counterattack. And Son of Sun itself counterattacks with flare, so that's usually not pleasant. But yeah, you need to wait for it to shuffle once, and then you just gotta find the right one and keep hitting it. 10 hits should do it, I think.
There is one of the... There's some weapons that you just won't find in the vanilla game. Like they're in the game, but they're not findable in the game.
Yeah, they were dummied out. Yeah.
And I think like Luca has a gun that does like HP % damage. And against Son of Sun, it's really funny because like she'll shoot a flame for like.
She could shoot it for like quad 9s, yeah.
Because they have. Just from the sight scope is telling us the flames have 30,000 hit points apiece.
Right, and Drinks Blue has finished the boss and is going to go downstairs next. So we've made some changes to the Rainbow Shell quest. You pretty much used to have to do it all in order, and as far as the randomizer goes, that was quite a slog. You can now either go downstairs first or go upstairs first. And if you go upstairs first, you'll fight the boss. If you go downstairs first, you can peek the item, the key item. You can choose whether to pick it up. And then once you pick it up, you must go fight the boss. But since Drinks Glue is also turning in the Moonstone, and you need to have finished Prism Shard to turn in the Moonstone, there was no real need to check the item first, because you're going to come downstairs and just get 2 items and hope at least one of them is good, and
Jerky.
We're about to see. Jerky! So the Moonstone was jerky. Sad trombone. But that's the Chrono Trigger. Alright, so the Chrono Trigger is a Go Mode item for Black Omen Go Mode. So now Drinks Blue is just looking for the clone, and then would be in Go Mode. And of course, if either player finds that other piece, they do have the option of Go Mode. It's one of those. Magus' Castle again can be a toss-up because it does take a lot longer than Tyranno Lair or Death Peak. I mean, a good Death Peak is like 5 minutes tops. But again, you can do it a lot earlier than you can get other Go modes sometimes. And the real trick is being able to read when that situation has come to pass. I would say that under these new player flags, because magic is unlocked already, that Magus' Castle is probably a slightly nicer choice than it might otherwise be, because if you get it really quickly, you're not necessarily just stuck with starting magic. You can grind in there if you need to.
Yeah, that's very true. I think, sample size, but there definitely are times where we can get a really early Go mode, and it's kind of like the challenge then is like, well, now what do I do? Because I have I'm level 10, and I have, maybe like a tier 2 elemental spell. That's my best sort of thing.
Yeah.
So depending on what we
Shiva
have like
Edge.
available, there are definitely
Hey,
spots of Shiva
sorry.
Edge.
Yeah, like that's pretty nice. Shiva Edge is, Chrono's second best weapon. It's still quite weaker than a rainbow, but rainbows are very, very strong. But a Shiva Edge, nobody's complaining.
I mean, their options are pretty much once we get everything. The Dreamstone was at Snail Stop. Okay, so that's not.
Yep.
It's Mount Woe, it's Genodome, and
So,
for Schwantz they got the pop, so they could do.
yep.
I would go. Giant's Claw is pretty quick compared to what
Giant's
else.
Claw is pretty quick, and there's 3 power tabs in there, and we know they're +4.
So like this is we're getting towards the back half of the seed. I don't think we're like hurting for levels to where it would be like, well, I need to do one of those two.
Yeah. I feel like we're getting to the point. This is really the point where we can see the consequences of how open this seed was. We have basically identified 2 out of 3 parts of every go mode, since nobody has picked up the Snail Stop item yet, but we know it's Dreamstone. We know that sword piece is on Xenon Bridge, so anyone who finds the 3rd piece to either of those knows where they need to go and get the last one.
So, one thing that is fun is if we get the chests in here, and then we happen to get the Tyranno lair go mode, then those chests are open already. They're like the same.
They are.
Which is cool. And then
yeah. And unlike in vanilla, you won't be sacrificing better items if you open them earlier. In the random, it's always the same item, so just open it whenever.
And that's the same with like the sealed chest between 600 and 1000 AD. There's not the upgrade mechanic like in the vanilla game, so we can
you just open them.
Pop those open. Yeah, and these lizard dactyls are really like the only fight that can't just be completely avoided in here.
Yep. Yeah. Actually, if you want to learn skips, Giant's Claw's not a bad one to start with. They aren't too bad. Wave to Chrono's cat.
That
Left.
can't be getting into stuff.
Wait, isn't one of the power tabs in there?
They must be feeling. I mean, Robo's really their only power tab need. Yeah, and just by hugging that bottom wall, we skip 2 encounters.
Yeah. No, it's true. I don't know that it's worth not picking up the power tabs, though. Schwantz has skipped 2 of them so far, I think.
They did just find one in one of these chests out here.
Yeah, it's true. Right, you want to go to the left of the torch on the left to skip this fight. Yeah. There's that last power tab in the room over there.
Correct direction. That one it took me so long to remember, and then I think someone was like, Tyranno lair is L. Go left.
Oh yeah.
Go left in the lair, and then right, and then the other one is opposite. So.
I think that was my mnemonic. Although there's one room it's reversed in. I think it's that one that's near the beginning of Giant's Claw, near the end of Tyranno lair.
So we're gonna see who's down here at the bottom.
Yeah. Alright, here's the boss room.
Red Knight.
Alright, Red Knight. Well, I know that Magus has ice too, if Marl doesn't. She may have picked it up at this point, but Red Knight has very high defense and evasion unless you hit it with water. And it's doable without water magic, but it's not super pleasant.
And we want to be very careful. I've made this mistake in the past of like queuing up too many attacks against the top part, and then accidentally taking out the middle, because it'll start doing that like hardening thing if the legs are the only thing that's left.
Yeah, if you take out the core, you're not as screwed as if you took out all of Mother Brain's monitors, but it does get quite a bit tougher. If you think that Retinite itself is going to kill the core and you can't handle it, however, the core absorbs basically all magic, so you can always just cast like lightning on it or something. I mean, it doesn't come up very often, but if you have to, you can heal it.
Yes, Melmo. So this is one of those fights that can be really dangerous, but it looks like we have plenty of speed to be ahead of these enemies.
Yep.
Take them down.
Yeah, that's the thing. Those are the gargoyles. This might also have been like a one seed ever thing, because rarely is Robo your fastest character. But I think that even Robo's laser spin, which is one of the weakest AoEs, I think even that will do it. But you better go first. Alright. Looks like Schwann's killed the core, which you do want to do once the other parts are gone. It will run away if you don't get it in time, but killing it doubles the XP and TP output from the fight, so that's nice. And Marl herself just did learn Ice 2, so that might help.
Yeah, Ice 2 and Dark Matter are
Right.
both very good.
Ooh,
okay.
There's the knife.
Okay.
Alright, so that's as we call it, no mode. No with a K.
Ah, yes. Because they know. It's a pretty good go mode, too. Like, I think I'm taking that and heading out.
Yeah, I think especially after an hour or so of looking for checks, if you get a go mode, generally you should take it, unless like if you have a good idea that, you know, maybe you just got Megas go mode and you have a pretty good idea that one more short check will get you another one, that might be worth it. But sometimes you can't calculate that.
Alright, we're gonna see our woe boss. And we know it's not gonna be the knife. It could be the clone. If it's the clone, then Drink's glues in their own.
I hope
or
it's
a sword
the clone.
beast.
Yeah, I kind of hope clone, because, you know, then we'll see totally different dungeons, but, you know, we'll see.
It really has to be.
Yeah, I don't think
anything.
anything's... Yeah, there's nothing left that's unaccounted for.
The pop.
Alright,
The pop was...
so that's Guardian.
Not Gino. It was... Reptile.
Thomas Pop. Yeah, Reptiler.
I think.
I think that sounds right.
Because we haven't seen Gino. And we're seeing Woe for the first time. We've got a Guardian up here.
Yep. Guardian is another boss that it took us a while to randomize, but now moves around. Ooh.
Crucial validation.
Alright. Schwann's pet the cat. All is right with the world.
Yeah, they stocked up, I think. Saw they had enough shelters and revives. Those are usually the two. Check our ether stash. Make sure we got enough to at least get through this. And yeah, this is
straight into Tyrannosaur. Ooh.
So this one, usually we want to run straight up the middle, all the way to the back.
Straight up. Yep. You go straight up the middle and then along the back wall, and the monkeys won't hurt you.
Alright, we got the bits down for Guardian, and now we're going to chop it up.
Guardian, luckily the counterattacks weren't doing too many damage, but you can definitely see how it hurts not having something to quickly take out the bits.
And I think it's... Yeah, wow.
Done for. Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah.
You know, coming up low, I don't think Drink's Glue took like a ton of fights necessarily either. Just a handful, but...
9. It's
levels,
definitely, you know...
The power's looking good.
Mount
think on
Woe
both
is
sides.
a popular place for grinding, but if you're late in the seed and you've done a lot already, you may not need all that much.
Getting some clone rooting. It's a sword.
There's the sword piece, so now it's the well, then that means the clone must be in Genodome, which... So I'm sitting here thinking Magus's castle might be the play, unless you're like super fast at Genodome. I feel like Geno is such a long check that might that would kill any time advantage you'd get from trying a faster go mode.
Yeah.
Whereas Xenon Bridge is going to be quick, especially. The nice thing about peaking Xenon and coming back is that Xenon Bridge is a like early game check. Drinks Glue is going to be like way too powerful for this.
Yeah, and fast as well. Probably just can screen clear,
Mm-hmm.
boom, 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 and be through. So it's a little bit of time. That's also going to give them Luca access. I doubt that they go do it.
Yeah, like it's a question. It might be worth it to like go check, but
I guess magic would be unlocked. They're gonna have 3 techs.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna be a little bit lower level than average of what we have, probably.
Yeah, but that will probably fix itself once you start fighting go mode bosses.
Yeah, because both of our runners would appear to be going to end up finishing in Ocean Palace Lavos. And Ocean Palace does have a nice little grind steps that that we can round out our levels. And so it's kind of like, as long as we can get there, we don't need to be super powerful necessarily, but sometimes we might be and just completely skip the grind at the end there.
If you're just joining us, we are watching a race of Jets of Time, the Chrono Trigger randomizer. Hey, it's Mega Mutant hat trick. We've got both our players are in go mode recently. Schwantz is going through Tyranno Lair, and Drinks Blue is about to open up the Magus's castle route, which means they are both going to fight Lavos as their final boss instead of Queen Zeal. I'm a little sad we're not seeing Omen, but I love Black Omen very much. And it's interesting because both sets of final bosses, Lavos does his thing, Queen Zeal does her thing, but it's very different. You need different things, different skills out of your party to do them efficiently. And if you're a beginner to randomizers, I honestly do really recommend Jets of Time. A lot of it's pretty accessible. There isn't a lot of grand level logic to learn. I think it's pretty easy to understand the route through the game, and in terms of racing it and being really good at racing it, it's really about fine-tuning more than it is a lot of the big strategies. Mm-hmm. We've got 2 different parties. That's always great to see. The character in common is Marl, which I don't blame them. As far as the rando goes, as far as magic damage goes, she's kind of slightly less good Luca. She does, of course, have healing and buffs to make up for that. So, I'm not trying to start a fight, just but a lot of people kind of snooze on Marl because she's worse than Luca, and she is damage wise, but she's not that much worse. It's not by a lot. The big thing is that she doesn't have a level 3 spell like Flare Dark Matter. But in terms of your double techs, Flare doesn't go into many double techs. Frog Flare might be about it, and Ice 2 will go into about as many things as Fire 2 will.
Yeah, and I mean, haste is very powerful.
Haste is great, and her being a little faster than Luca can be really helpful too. I try to, when I'm running Luca, I try to pick up as many speed tabs as I can, but the fact that Marl would need one fewer, that's not nothing.
Yeah, typically we want that screen clear character to, be at 13 or 14 for some of these endgame dungeons, and it takes one more to get Luca there. Now, she does have gear that will boost her speed if we do find like the best of the suit. That's great, and we can use like the accessories like the dash ring or speed belt to help with that too. But that might come at the cost of like boosting magic or like a pair of sensei shades. So yeah, Luca needs those speed tabs the most to be like the lead character in terms of speed.
Yeah, if you're lucky, you can find her tab invest or tab in suit, which will give her +2 or +3 speed as well, and is in the armor slot, not the accessory slot. So if you need to pile stuff on, you can. I know we've talked about updating gear rando a bit though, so that like, for example, the Luca only gear can roll for somebody else.
Yeah.
Which would be interesting, I think. Right. Schwanz has a Zala down, so we're waiting for Black Tyranno to drop its defense power. This is a great battle to haste up in because this thing is tanky. There are some battles that haste isn't really worth it because it'll be over so soon that you don't really need to worry about. Like, the extra time casting haste won't be worth it. That's pretty much never going to be true of Black Tyranno ever.
Yeah. Most of our endgame, the Lavos fights even, especially the second and third one, is really where that haste starts to shine. We can get haste on like gear as an effect. That's obviously like the best, but it dramatically decreases the ATB bar time.
Yes, it's true.
It doesn't help.
Although not on the first turn. Yeah, that's
speed, but
that's the thing to know, is that haste will not get you your first turn quicker.
But for like a slower character, getting haste on them early in a battle can be a really big difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
You haste your haste caster, and that helps them haste others better, depending on sort of what the need is.
Alright, Drinkspo, this is going to be Nizbel too, because we saw Nizbel earlier at the prison. Schwanz is through Black Tyranno. Schwanz had plenty of damage, so we didn't have to eat an attack from Black Tyranno, but it does count down as it does in vanilla, and it will hit you with a random element. You could kind of peek the element, but you can't. Oh, triple tech shout out. Arc Impulse over there.
Oh, it's water damage.
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense because it's 2 parts water.
Yeah, if you've come to Tyranno Lair at kind of low level and you lose to Black Tyranno, you've probably at least seen what element it's running. And, if it's running Shadow and you've got Black Vests, then hey, if you think you're going to have to eat that attack, you can also use Magus's magic wall attack. You can use the barrier item. Just only hit point that matters is the last one.
Yeah, so here we'll see one of our the endgame shops that we were mentioning. There's 2 different shops here, depending if we talk to them from the right or the top.
Yes. That was the so-so shop from the right, and the one from the top is the good one. This shop is guaranteed to have amulets. Ooh, prism specs.
Sparse, but good.
Yeah. So if you don't have any status protection against Lavos, odds are you're in for kind of a bad time. Since we have Magus in the party, he started with an amulet, so at least we have one.
Can we afford 2 though? Well, I guess we have a hero medal. We don't need 2. We actually
Yeah.
probably need 1.
That's true.
An amulet.
I mean, gosh. Yeah, I think at this point I might put the amulet on Marl and then put specs on Magus or something because Robo's got a power up already, but yeah, you know, this is not a horrible thing to see. It's good to kind of know when I get to the new shop, or there's kind of an equivalent one in Black Omen. It's of equivalent quality. It's not the same shop. So the Zeal shop and the Omen shop roll differently in a new seed. But no, when you know it's coming, you definitely want to like have your gear in order, because then you can just go to the sell screen and mash. And you don't have to worry about selling anything that you still need. And then you can have a bunch of money for the new shop. The go item is the indicator that the runner is in go mode. So for Schwantz, it's lit up because they have the gate key, the dreamstone, and the ruby knife. And then Drinks Blue is lit up because of Frog and the repaired Masamune.
I think so. Drinks Blue is on their second Magus Castle boss.
Yes.
And after this, they'll kind of go through the back half gauntlet, which once I kind of learned how to do it, like, I don't know, I kind of like it. There's a lot of opportunity to show off, like, a lot of encounter knowledge and like skipping them. But it can be a slog sometimes before I learned all of the ways to kind of skip those encounters, because there's just a lot of fights in here, you know, like.
Yeah, that's definitely a big key if you're going to take the Magus's Castle go mode, to know the skips so you can make it as quick as possible.
All right, we're going to get our first. We got a boss here at the top.
Ooh. It's going to be Super Slash, because regular Slash was in the desert. And Super Slash is basically, well, not technically weak, but vulnerable to everything, so you can just wail on him.
Yeah, definitely the go modes are a little bit longer, because there's usually... Well, there's always 2 dungeons to go through.
Yeah.
To get where we're going. It'd be like an FF6 if you had to do like Phoenix Cave
and then Kefka's Tower, yeah. Since you have to take 3 parties through Kefka's Tower, doesn't it basically count as 3 anyway?
Yeah, that is fair.
So, you know, maybe.
And then, yeah, fighting the statues is not fun, and really the whole endgame can get pretty wild. Lavos can also get wild though, so like
it's true.
I think gonna be a key factor is how mad is Lavos today? Do they want to go immediately into, you know, the Grandstone big magic? What is that one called? Dreamless?
Oh,
no.
Dreamless is the magic one, and Grandstone is the physical one. He'll open with, well, we'll talk about it when we get to Lavos.
Yeah.
But while basically everything Lavos does is awful, you can predict it fairly well. So, you know, if you're prepared, you'll be okay.
Yeah, like I saw a question. Definitely like this difficulty of a boss is determined on like where they are at in terms of like it's and I see Phone's talking about it too. An early dungeon boss is going to be weaker. Our final bosses are always the same hit points, the same punchy powers.
I think as far as Rando, I think the way that the system works is that each each boss spot has a level assigned to it. Like, I don't remember what Cathedral is, but Xenon Bridge might be 7. And then based on that level and then the level of the boss's vanilla spot, we calculate the difference in the stats for the boss. Again, except for HP, which will generally just be spot based, because that is really hard to calculate on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a couple bosses that use different formulas, like Terra Mutant is one of them, because the top and the bottom do weird stuff.
So I'll call
and it's hard enough to do the math on them.
On drink screen, pretty good. We hit a couple of these, but the trickier one they got, which is really, there's a bird that we can use, like our characters' bodies, to make them go off into space, and then we can just run right by them, and they nailed that one. So I just wanted to highlight that one. Yeah. The other birds are all just about not hitting left or right, I believe, on the stairs, just hitting straight up as we pass them.
Right. So Schwantz is at level 26, which is... So I'm looking at the menu. So I'm known as being a little reckless, but I usually leave the grind spot, which is this battle here in Ocean Palace, at about 26. However, I would say that if you're going to leave at 26, you'd better have load vests or better on everyone, and the Schwantz doesn't have that. So I think that, especially in this case, a couple more levels is wiser. Especially with this team, they can be kind of squishy. Robo is very, like, physically buff, but not magically.
Now, we do have prism specs, so, like, gear can, like, very powerful gear, I would say, like a prism specs, can really weigh on that, what am I leaving here in terms of levels. Something like a gold earring, which could take either Magus or Marl's kind of low hit points and send them northward of, they can get in the 600-700s pretty easily, even at the levels that are at. So there can be ways to sort of mitigate it, but, I would say, especially when learning, when in doubt, like, level it out. I think I advise, like, new players to be like, leave here at, like, 30. Because then you'll definitely be in a place for Lavos where you're in a pretty good spot to survive some of the nastier stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Because you're gonna get hit by something, like, we all pray that we're not gonna get hit by Grand Stone, but you're probably gonna get hit by something. So you gotta be ready for it. And yeah, I would say, like, for me, load vests are the bottom of the standard. Like, that's where I feel comfortable. Load vest or better. Like, I'm like, okay, I can take these hits. Load vest or better, and maybe, like, level 30 by Lavos. I always forget to count, so I just check when I leave the grind spot. If you're gonna be reckless like me and leave the grind spot at 26, leave at 26. Don't leave anyone at 25. That's my advice. Because I haven't been able to, like, slice it down any finer. That's the best I've been able to do.
Yeah, it's really those lower levels usually means, like, less margin of error. And we're going to need to be real careful with, like, our turns, keeping people, like, topped up on health, so on and so forth. Yeah, I will point out, this guy, I posted the link. Both of these players have already signed up for the Gato Cup, and getting a little bit of early mentoring since they volunteered to race it on stream for us to watch and commentate. But I think both of these players this is not their first rando, so definitely on kind of the more experienced end, but they're still both pretty new to the actual Jets of Time randomizer itself. And so there's definitely stuff that, in terms of if this is quote-unquote my first randomizer, just certain fundamentals around, like, being efficient in, like, battle, staying out of the menu when we can. You know, like some of that they've already learned playing other JRPG, Super Nintendo randomizers. But, you know, I still think that a lot of that we can pick up pretty fast. And again, like I wanted to have the mentors there to be able to provide a little bit of that, like, you know, encouragement and nudging and maybe even sometimes like challenging a newer player to be like, let's give this a try at lower level and see how it goes, right? Like I'll be, you know, and having someone there that can like, you know, and I've tried to make it so that our mentors are really more just providing information, but as a newer player, if something's going really sideways, they do have the freedom to say like, hey, tell me what to do specifically right now. And that's kind of nice to have as like a backup when we're learning. Oh, wow. Yeah, I would say Drinks Glue has a power edge. But they're behind.
Drinks Glue definitely needs to grind less. Okay, here's the elevator fight. This one with the 6 scouts. We got Magus in the middle, which is one of the ways to... That's Dark Bomb. Don't cast Dark Bomb.
Sometimes we have to learn.
So I... Now, luckily, Schwantz just hit one of them with the wrong element. Because... So, there's definitely, like... Two schools of thought over whether you should use the save point right before the elevator in Ocean Palace, especially if you're using Dino Tail or Frog Squash to clear this fight that Schwantz is on now, because you need Frog and Ayla's hit points to remain low, and it's really easy to use a shelter without thinking. But ever since I didn't save and accidentally cast Dark Matter on this fight, I save every time. So...
No, I think that's fair. And I mean, especially if we've spent a bunch of time grinding, like, it would be devastating to do that again. So I think it's a good new player guidance in general is like always save before going into a dungeon. There's usually a save right before the boss in a dungeon, save to a different spot. I think sometimes especially maybe even if someone's coming from like vanilla speed running, there's little habits that are like, oh, we always save just on the same slot. That like in rando racing is maybe not the best. Because of that, like we might get stuck and we don't want to be stuck like in the back of a dungeon having to make a long walk out or you know, doing all that grinding and then having to do this elevator again would be pretty bad. I'm gonna see.
Yeah. Schwantz is through.
Kind of got the first half there. These can be skipped. I would say, for me personally, technically, this was like one of the hardest ones to get. Like I knew how to do it, but
there are just a ton of little pieces to it.
Took me a while. I could always get in pretty easily.
Yeah, in you can do
it's
like without touching.
That's tricky. See, we're getting a little coaching sesh here. Some guidance. We got in.
And yeah, so if you can get in and you can get halfway, that's not bad, you know.
It's also a very fast runaway relative, because sometimes the runaway timer is a little bit longer.
Yeah.
We do have that with the ATB wait. If we can get into a menu and hold run, we can buffer that. And so even if we don't hit every skip, I would always say try it, and I still do. I don't know I can't hit all of them consistently.
Yeah, but if you try, you might get it, right? So it's worth a shot.
Yeah, and you might, and it's again if we have managed our speed well and we know like who's going to start first. It's usually we can pretty quickly get in to the menu and run without. Right. And that's just like a couple of seconds. So it's like it feels bad, but
watching
this Ayla fight.
So yeah, Drinks Glue is doing. We got Ayla Magus. Magus can be the Magus battle character. Can be any of your 7 characters. But vanilla Golem twins.
I hope we have ice.
They do have ice. they have ice elemental, so this is probably manageable. But
like...
yeah, so this Ayla is going to be the same as any Magus, except for the big attack. It's not going to be dark matter. It's going to be based on the character. And with Ayla, it's non-elemental, so you can't soak it, which can be a bit of a concern. You should really try to like end the fight before you see that, and if you make that your goal, it might be a bit easier. But it's definitely something to pay attention to. So,
yeah, I would say like the thing for me about it's the boss. It's this Magus fight that makes this go mode challenging for me to be excited about. Because
and yes, this is a mod. It's a randomizer.
Yeah.
Called Jets of Time. ctgot.com. Ooh, okay,
because they'll randomly pick an element, it can definitely be very possible to get like not the ones we can do big damage, and particularly in a racing setting, it's frustrating when I feel like I'm losing a bunch of time in my Magus fight because they just don't want to give me an element.
Yeah.
I can hit.
Drinks Glue is definitely doing my favorite backup strat, which is if they don't give you a good element, you punch them in the face, which in this case is Chrono using Confuse. But I am a huge fan of like just punch Magus in the face, honestly. It is not a bad strategy. Doing healing with the fire barrier though, and that you don't want to do. And Schwantz did take down one of the golems earlier, and it looks like so the golem is kind of tough because golems are very fast, and based on what you hit them with, they change their AI script and will hit you with different things. So there are a couple of tricks you can use to mitigate it. Physical will always, the first attack they'll do to you after physical will be Iron Orb. And the first attack they will do to you after fire or ice is Fire 1 or Ice 1. You have to keep switching them because after Fire 1 or Ice 1, you'll get hit with Fire 2 or Ice 2, or with that like awful orb attack that Dalton hits you with. You don't want to get hit by any of those, but you can use that knowledge to manipulate them so that they're only hitting, one character with a level 1 spell. Something like that. So that was pretty good. That is not a fun boss in its vanilla spot.
That's kind of why I decided to go with the boss rando, because I was like, I don't want double golems to be 2 of the 3 go mode.
At least it wasn't Dalton or Flea or something.
Yeah, there are worse ones, but not much.
Yeah, but yeah, so that boss is randomized, and you can roll pretty much any of the randomized bosses can land there. Rarely you can even get 2-part bosses like mutants. Their HP divides a little differently when they're in the twin spot, but you can get multi-part bosses there too.
This one's going into their final set of fights. This race is definitely still close enough where a Magus wipe would put it right back into like neck and neck. And by no means is this fight like free or safe generally. Like there are a couple.
This is Ocean Palace Lavos. This is the one that is supposed to kill you in vanilla. This is not the same one that you would fight, if you got to the end of the game and then use the bucket gate to go fight Lavos from the end of time. This is the really mean one. So this thing will just throw stuff at you consistently and quickly. And it has 12,000 HP.
Drinks Glue having to chop through here because they keep getting fire, but
yeah,
they did throw on a silver stud, so that'll help Chrono just keep going. And did we learn what
first
obstacle
reset
was?
off Lavos.
I was gonna ask because I saw the Terra.
No, I didn't see before it blinked out. But
did like an obstacle, but it was sleep. But that was way back in like the cathedral.
Yeah.
It was
So
stop. Ew.
yeah, ew. Ocean Palace Lavos' script is 3 things. It's Destruction Rains from the Heavens, which is like moderate full party damage. Then it's Obstacle, which is minor full party damage, plus whatever status effect it rolled, but it's randomized. Hooray! And then it does the Energy Release, which is a lot of damage. And then it just repeats that over and over. And yeah, you really can't blame anyone for resetting, because sometimes it's just going to be quicker to get on top of the fight. Oh, that's beautiful. We love to see it. Yeah, once
yeah, there it is.
Yeah, that'll do it. Once Magus, or whoever is in Magus's place, changes phase, then they can go down very quickly. Of course, they're also charging for their mega attack. Ayla's one is actually the energy release we just talked about with Lavos, which we might see go off. Well, probably. It's hard to beat Lavos that quickly, but yeah, that was the way. You know, sometimes you just gotta chip away at the first phrase, but once he drops his defenses, you can just go. And yeah, Phone is right that this isn't exactly the vanilla Ocean Palace Lavos, but what I more mean is it is based on that one as opposed to the actually powered down one that you would fight at the end of the game in vanilla. It's definitely based on the one that kills you. There's that speed tab up in Kajar.
So, in terms of tabs, right, they increase stats. Like, how as a runner do we tell, like, when we should use them and, like, who we should use them on?
Yeah, gosh. There are a couple things that you keep in mind. I think that generally, the faster you use your tabs on characters that you're going to keep in your party, the better. So it's really about, like, you know, you'll get your first 3 characters, you know, your starters, and then your one from the front of the cathedral. And from there, you have some information, and based on, you know, who those characters are, what their techs are, you maybe decide, like, do you want to just go in on any of them? I mean, like, if you've got, like, Luca with Fire 2, then you're probably keeping her. She, granted, has such powerful magic that she doesn't really need magic tabs, but she definitely needs speed tabs. So, you know, that's a pretty easy call. If you've got, like, I don't know, let's say you've got Chrono and Robo, and neither of them has, like, you don't have Uzi Punch, you don't have Confuse, maybe you don't even have Robo Tackle. Like, at that point, maybe you don't know what to do with your power tabs. Like, do you know where Ayla is? If you have Ayla, she is a pretty good bet. But there could be a better bet. Like, if Chrono has a rainbow in the seed, he will be stronger than she is. But if he doesn't, he won't. And it's all about, like, kind of managing what you feel comfortable with. But yeah, generally, I would say, I mean, if you get into go mode and you haven't used them, definitely use them by then. But I think that they do speed you up, especially in the early game. I mean, I've had a couple of power tabs make the difference on the stupid cathedral boss that I have to hit with regular attacks because whatever.
All right, we've got the Lavos 2 fight, so we do get a save. So if we wipe the Lavos 2, we are not fighting Lavos 1 again. We got to get rid of those hands. They always open with the laser beams, and then they're going to follow it up with the laser boomerangs, or laser bananas, as some of us will call them.
Yeah, if you
single target, but they hit very hard.
And there will be two.
I don't think anyone can survive taking both of them. Hit maybe
I've
Robo.
had like Robo can and like maybe Chrono if you're pretty high level, and earrings will make it so people can survive. But that's kind of the
1 for 2.
Ooh, yeah, you don't like seeing that. Honestly, sometimes with the boomerangs you can just risk it.
Hit both of the hands.
That's a good question. Yeah, she's up now, but I've never tried. I don't think.
I would say, usually for me, I want to have like 5 revives going into Lavos to feel like comfortable with my revives. Now, having like a Maul is pretty good.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh.
Lavos is tough.
Lavos does Lavos things. Yeah. So, yeah, you can see obstacle rolling stop is one of the worst things you can see. If it rolls like lock, that's not as bad. Sleep really like takes the wind out of your sails, but it's not like you're automatically dead or anything. But yeah, stop is awful, and that is why the new shop in Zeal always sells an amulet. And that is why, it's super rare. We didn't see any this seed, but like vigil hats, prism helms, that's why you love those.
Yeah,
anything that can give someone status yeah, especially status protection that doesn't use the accessory slot, because you want to put like prism specs or whatever there, right? So yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately Lavos has moves that can strip that protection anyway, but like at least for this phase, like it's good to have. And I think I like this going after one arm more heavily, just to get the laser count down.
Yeah.
Didn't quite happen.
Yeah. No, it's true. This is a bit of a tricky party for Lavos 1 because Marl and Magus are both pretty squishy. Robo isn't too squishy, although he will get squishier once the magic comes out. And the hands won't stop firing the blades until you at least take one of them out. And then their AI script will reset and you won't see the blades again for a while. But it's very...
The left one has like a little bit less hit points.
Yeah, 4,000 versus 5,000, I think.
Because I think that the ice tackle, like the damage they did, would have taken down the one on the left.
Yeah.
We can also try to heal up or re-raise. There's a lot.
There's
a lot of good ones.
Yeah, no. Luckily, Marl is well equipped with her techs. And yeah, I agree that the heal beam here, heal beam or a lapis is almost always necessary right here.
I remember what I asked about tabs, because I was going to ask if it ever makes sense to use magic tabs on someone that's not like naturally having high magic. We know Marl has high magic, Luca, Magus, but like, would I put him on Robo or an Ayla or Frog?
I mean, I would absolutely put them on those characters, or even Chrono. I think that magic tabs tend to get you a little more bang for your buck on the characters who are weaker with magic. And the other thing is, it's something about the way that the healing is calculated, but magic tabs, unless the magic stat, has a bigger effect on healing than it does damage magic. And I mean, Robo, Frog, and Chrono all have something that's curative. Like Chrono has life, which, I mean, hey, that'll save your butt. Frog and Robo both have a group-wide heal as a single tech, which I think is incredibly valuable. So magic tabs on them will be great. And then if you've got magic tabs on Frog or Robo, I mean, I did a Black Omen seed once where I had, like, the only magic I had was Frog, so I just pumped all my magic tabs on him, and Water 2 cleared everything. It was beautiful. So it's doable. You buff Robo's magic, If you're using him with like Super Volt and Chrono, that would be great. And we haven't even gotten to Ayla. Ayla has Tailspin. Tailspin ignores defense. It can also combine with Fire 2 for Fire Whirl, and if you're buffing Ayla's magic, you are going to get a lot of great returns, especially like on Fire Whirl. You could be buffing Luca, but she just doesn't need it.
Yeah, it's one of those where like sometimes like strength on strength to like make their strength stronger makes sense. I think part of it too is like the way the characters' damage formulas are for their attacks kind of account for what their magic is, and so like Tailspin, I think in particular, has a very high like fixed damage multiplier on it because you know Ayla's not supposed to have high magic, which means if we get those high magic tabs and put them on her, and like that, you know, as you mentioned, Tailspin can just be like, like, and when we say like damage piercing, you know, we're talking it can damage the head of Lavos 2 before it drops its defense. It can damage the bit on Lavos 3 before it drops like the defense. So it's like it's very fun, and it doesn't happen very often when I get that like spin to win composition. Like it's a great time.
That's another fun thing about this randomizer is there's sort of like the standard way to do things, but if you pay attention, you might be able to do something really fun and crazy.
But yeah, definitely as we mentioned, it's going to come down to the Lavos fights. If Schwann's going to hold the lead, or if there's enough runway or a racetrack left for Drinks Glue to catch up.
Yeah, Schwantz did get through that obstacle this time. Looks like saw that their characters were poisoned, which means Lavos' Shadow Slay went off. You know, just if everyone doesn't know, the interesting thing about status effects in Chrono Trigger is that even if it's one that you don't need to worry too much about, like poison, that will reduce the character's strength. So your attack suddenly won't do that much. And in a fight like this Lavos 2 fight, it can be very, I mean, Lavos 2 hits really hard, but only has 10,000 HP, so like playing that margin is really critical. And so if your damage suddenly goes down, like, oh, you might be eating Shadow Doomblaze. So if you're gonna eat Shadow Doomblaze, you know, be ready, but, alright, Schwantz is through.
So there is a window here where we can get into the menu in the transition between Lavos 2 and 3. The flag, I did turn it on. That makes that window even bigger. So we'll see if we get in there. I would advise Schwantz to move Magus to the right side where Robo is. As part of that menu that we're going to be doing. But, ooh, Passmorgus, thanks for the raid. We're at an exciting finish here.
Oh, exciting.
Can
the
Schwantz pull it out, or will Drinks Glue be able to get back into the race?
Alright, looks like Schwantz didn't hit the menu, so that can be pretty rough. I do think Schwantz has a Mega Elixir from the back of Arisdome, which, I mean, if you miss your menu glitch, it's really valuable to open the menu between Lavos 2 and 3 and heal. But if you miss it, there is stuff you can do. Ooh. That Ice Sword 2 on those Golem twins is beautiful. And now the Golems, they're both going to attack first with an Ice 1, so Drinks Glue has some time to play with their AI before getting hit by like a mass Ice 2 or something, which that would hurt. Okay, Lavos 3 has time warped to prehistory.
This is dangerous.
Yes.
Because this is our AoE physical attack that I think without some sort of protection, Marl and Magus cannot survive.
It hits quite hard. Robo might survive, but I don't think that generally anyone with less than like 450, 500 HP probably they're going down.
Yeah, and that middle piece has a lot of hit points to get down.
Yep.
But we want to get them down before they do their terrible
Mm-hmm.
thing. And
yeah. Phone points out correctly that spending turns here buffing could be dangerous. And I would actually say I recommend if you're gonna do buffs during Lavos 3, do it after you take down one of the bits and force it into like that defensive mode.
That was our last reverse.
Because yeah, then you have time. But yeah, so Lavos is doing time warp again. The good news, this is the one that can't kill you, right? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the HP 50%. Lavos 3, like everything it does is terrible. Mm-hmm. Everything it does is always terrible, but it is predictable. Lavos 3 can start with 2 different time warps. It will either start with prehistory or the present. And prehistory means you get squashed by that awful rock. And in the present, Lavos will do the tech spell, which puts a random status effect on each character, which can really be terrible too. And then when on the time warp, Lavos will always go through the time periods in order. So once he starts time warping, you know what's coming next, like prehistory, followed by antiquity, etc. And the other 2 things that Lavos can do is he can start slapping you, which does a lot of physical damage, but to a single character, it's fairly manageable. Or Lavos can throw out those lightning bolts. And the slaps and the lightning bolts are like a one-off loop, and once he's done with that loop, he'll pick another one. And it'll always be one of those 4 starts.
Yeah. Nice job recovering. Mm-hmm. We got a little bit more breathing room.
Yeah. And yeah, now haste. This is when I would recommend casting haste, especially so that left bit will counterattack with the right bit with a really nasty X strike we saw it a minute ago, but I think re-raise was up if you hit it while the center bit's gone. So, you know, when you have gotten Lavos to drop its defense, you may want to be using different things to damage it, depending on what parts are up. And
now they're free to wail away, and
yep.
We have a little bit of time before the defense comes back up, so we should be able to get a couple of good hits in, and hopefully get the middle bit down again before it decides to do anything terrible. I think it does. I think Black Hole does hit the center, but not the right.
Yeah, I don't remember if it hits. Yeah, not from here. But if you have Megas where Robo is now, you can hit both center bit and right bit with Black Hole, which is lovely because then you don't have to touch the left one at all.
Yeah, the Schwann's is out of consumable revives, but they do have life too.
Yeah, life 2 and re-raise. Yeah.
As long as it's in the fight, we're in the fight.
Yep. Alright, center bit down again.
Yeah, drinks on. That was 2. Catching up.
Ooh.
Getting closer.
Yep.
I haven't really been counting the damage, but I want to say we've still probably got a good 15k to go on the right bit.
Yeah, I think so. Right bit has 20,000 HP, which is what it needs to die for the game to be won. But yeah, you see Drinks Glue with that Ice Sword too.
Incredible damage.
And you know, this is why I preach so hard about multi-techs. Like, the animations are generally faster because you're not using 2 separate turns, and the damage tends to be higher. Also, multi-techs don't miss. Anybody who's ever like tried to kill Waterless Retinite with Chrono or Robo definitely knows the pain. Because their accuracy are both pretty bad. But yep, double tech won't miss.
Yeah, I think, and that's something nice that, like, and I the beta like seed site, because text, if we hover over them, will tell us the damage formula, and until I think I started looking at those, like it was never like intuitively clear why the double text are better. But then when we look at it's like 1.25 times ice, like confused, plus 1.25 times. So there's a lot of multipliers on double text. Not all of them. Some of them don't, and they're just plus.
Yeah, but a lot of them do. And as you can see, we have that written into the tech descriptions, actually, in the randomizer.
Very nice.
GG Schwantz.
Let's get those GGs in chat.
Yeah, and Drinks Glue just got through Lavos 2 as well. That was incredibly clean Lavos 2. You can definitely see how Drinks Glue has made up so much time. I mean, I think Drinks Glue was still fighting Magus when Schwantz was getting into the bottom of Ocean Palace. And yeah, these strategies, that Ice Sword 2 with the 5k damage, sometimes having those really, really solid damaging attacks really speed things up.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can get our mentor racer pairing in for an interview while we watch Drinks Glue finish up here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pull him in right now.
Sounds good.
Hello, the Schwantz 27 GGs.
GG.
Yo, what's up, everybody? GGs.
Ooh.
Whew. That last fight was a bit of a struggle bus.
Yeah. So talk to us about obstacle.
Yeah. So wanted to make sure that I had one amulet, and I accidentally sold it because I got excited over the prism specs at the end. But
no, I got excited over the prism specs at the end of it. You did not.
Listen, there is plenty of reasons to get excited.
Oh, so, yeah. I mean,
I totally forgot you had a roller ribbon. Otherwise, you wouldn't have had that problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it is what it is. But yeah, as soon as we saw that it was stopped, we're like, you know what? This is going to work way better if we have one person dedicated to not being stopped. And thankfully, when obstacle hit a couple of times, it only hit one of my two characters instead of both of them, except in the one case where I think Marl was dead anyway. So a couple resets there, which yeah, it happens, but at least we're prepared with a game plan to know, all right, well, here's what the order of operations is going to be. We're going to do this first, and then that next. So this was a lot of fun. I got to see a lot of the game here. It's definitely
one of those.
It's a bit daunting when you get, sort of access to the entire world at once, and you're like, all right, well, what do we want here? Because we had 2 out of 3 for multiple different avenues of go mode, right?
Everything.
Yeah, so it was where can we string the pieces to get
the only
put
thing
together?
The only thing I was hoping for is do not get the Grand Leon. Do not get the Grand Leon. Put the Grand Leon right now.
Yeah.
Well, I believe it was Drinks Glue who picked up the Grand Leon, so.
It had to be either in Woe, Genodome, or Sun Palace, one of the 3.
It was Sun Palace.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it looks like he's got a completely different party than Mace, which always makes for an interesting race.
Between the two of you, we have worked out where everything in the seat is. We saw enough of it, put it that way.
Good showcase then. Excellent.
Yep.
Yeah, Chrono was either in Cathedral or in the future.
And Chrono was Cath, and Ayla was Future.
Yeah. I was screaming so much in the last movie. I was like, let's go.
I think you were having a bigger heart attack than I was, because I was like, you know what? We're calm, we're composed, we'll get through this.
If I moved less, once I would have been on the edge of my seat, on my freaking tippy toes, staring into my computer screen right now.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad we were talking, and you said that you did enjoy doing mentoring. It was a lot of fun.
I'm kind of liking this mentor thing over the playing of the game, which is kind of scary.
All right, looks like Drinks Glue has gotten that second Ice Sword 2 off.
Nice.
We were just talking about, buffing too early, and I think that this is a good illustration of that, because Drinks Glue would have 2 one-shotted that center bit and taken nothing from it if it just done 2 Ice Sword 2s. And
Yeah.
that's why I like to wait till one of the bits dies to cast haste in the Lavos 2 fight.
I was more worried about getting spelled than, than worrying about buffing. I was like,
Yeah.
you got...
No,
it was very funny.
There was just really fast.
It was funny because there was one moment, I think, during the final fight where I think the middle bit had just come back and it cast the ultimate physical attack. I don't remember what it's called. And SVJ was like, "Oh my god, no, we have to reset." I'm like, "Wait a minute, Magus is gonna get up. I have re-raise up." He's like, "I love you. You cast re-raise on him."
Hey, that's the way because neither Magus nor Marl was gonna survive that, but Robo was. And
I knew he would survive. He had the HP. I didn't see him cast that re-raise. I was too busy pacing.
Yeah. No, I mean we've been back and forth. This has been pretty close at the end here, so.
Great, that'll be awesome. I can't wait to watch it back. I've already learned a lot. Thank you, SVJ, for teaching me about haste and about synergy between some of the different characters, right? So
we cast haste Marley first.
Yeah, because I come from the Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide randomizer, where the haste status and getting your speed is okay, but it's much better to do damage. GG's to glue as well.
And yeah, it's very different between the two games because
right.
The haste casting time and the ATV refill rule. And it's. Whew.
If you're going to be in a long fight, use haste. That's the mantra that I've been told, which is good.
Yeah, it's definitely, you want to know when the fight isn't going to last long enough for it to be worth it, and then if it is, totally cast haste.
Yeah, had some trouble as well on the elevator where I was like, well, do I burn this mega elixir now and get through this, or do I not?
Sad when he had to burn his mega, and I was like, we could have used that on Lavos.
That's why it wasn't there. I was wondering if you had it on Lavos 3, and I guess you didn't. But I mean, you use them when you use them, and you stay alive. And I don't think you saved before the Omen elevator, so it's a really good thing you didn't die.
You got mega.
I was worried.
No one's hasted. You dark bomb the target when you weren't supposed to, and it was a misclick. It wasn't.
It happens. Yeah.
I did it a couple of weeks ago when I was racing everybody, and I attacked Zeal's hand, and I got life.
The joy of memory cursor. Sometimes it helps you out. Sometimes, and other times, oh boy.
Blaze kicking the wrong Lavos bit or something, it's happened to all of us.
And that last fight, I'm like, Magus is your meat shield. Magus is your sack mule. Just kill him, res him, and do it again.
Yeah, and welcome in, guys, and GG.
GG's.
Yeah, GG's.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was a good race. Wow. That was definitely one of the seed that it takes you on the grand tour of the world. I said before, between both players, we definitely know where everything is. It was one of those. But
good beginner seed.
Yeah, good job. Those Ice Sword 2s were beautiful to behold.
Work, man. I love it.
What kind of path did you take, Schwantz?
So we ended up going to get the pendant very late, and that's sort of when I was like, okay, well, if the answer is behind the pendant, I have to rush through the rest of this seed to make up the time. And I don't remember exactly where we go. Was it after the Prism Shard?
We got in go mode after we did the Prism Shard and the Sunstone. And
that's right.
And then we got a trigger and a jerky or something like that.
Yeah, I was try-harding so badly in the last 2 dungeons that I blacked out the rest of the scene.
You also had me and you going, go left, right, down, right.
Yeah, but we had a Tyranno go mode, and we had a Magus go mode, and the clone was on Genodome.
Yeah, we did Thomas Pop and Giant's Claw, and that's where we found the Ruby Knife.
Where was the Thomas Pop?
Thomas Pop was
In the desert?
It was
This up in desert. Yeah.
Yeah, desert.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So we never got Robo.
Yeah, Robo was on the top of Dactyl Nest.
Yeah.
And I say you had Chrono, so he was in Cathedral. Like, we didn't do a Cathedral.
Yep.
Yeah, that
This Omega player is so bad. I'm like, I'm propping Moon Blizzard. Moon Blizzard. I prop his blue rock skills when Schwann's found the blue rock. I'm like, yeah, I use them.
Yeah.
Let's go find.
I was so the Black Rock and Blue Rock were both picked up really early. One by each of you, and I was really hoping that someone would pick up Luca out of the burrow so that we could see either of them.
Oh, I told Schwann's to get her.
Yeah.
If we found that Mega Speed's like, we're getting Luca. We're gonna have fun here. I don't care if we lose. We're gonna have fun. You're gonna see this.
Honestly, especially with these flags with magic unlocked, I don't really see any reason not to, because her having magic locked is one of the things that would make you think twice, but without it, yeah.
Yeah, we did a practice
maybe next time.
Here, and Schwann's was like, "Hey, I can go do desert." Like, why are you going to do desert? Oh yeah, magic unlocked. Why are we not doing desert? What is going on? That's why we went to desert to begin with, and when we found Robo, he's like, we both made the. He actually said desert. I'm like, no, almost done. Let's just finish it up.
Yeah, when you sort of have ice AoE at the beginning of the seed, why not, right?
I was a little panicked there when we started doing Denadoro, and then Marley learned ice. I was like, oh, you got ice water. Oh, you got ice water now. Well, that makes it so much easier.
Yeah, no, desert, the TP in desert is middling, but the XP is very good. So you'll come out of there strong.
Plus, there's some juicy loot down there. I think there was like 3 different chests of tabs in it. So
yeah,
Oh, nice.
There are a lot of extra speed tabs in this seed. The seed was very, very kind with that. Like, short of getting speed tabs off of an enemy, because that can happen in this rando for anyone who wants to have a lot of real fun with that. Sometimes enemies will drop
speed
them.
tabs. I always steal them or kill things.
Other than that, this was a pretty good seed for speed tabs. They're everywhere, like both sides of the screen, sometimes in different places. Like, hey, there's a speed tab. Hey, there's another one. But that's good because Marl was afoot, Robo was afoot. That was a good race.
But yeah, so thank you to both of you for doing commentary and for Fitz for not only setting up the showcase, but also for doing the admin side of things with running the Gato Cup. I'm pretty excited to be doing some more of these runs. I have been typically doing more like archipelago multi-world versions of Jets of Time, where you basically have to do all of the checks anyway. So it's kind